Hi everyone, and welcome to the Wedding Circle podcast. Before we begin, I wanted to just give you a little heads up about the sound quality of this podcast. With everything that's going on in the world right now, we're actually remotely recording this. I'm at my house and my co-host April is recording at her house. So the sound quality might not be as good or as polished as you're used to when listening to some of your other favourite podcasts. But please do stick with us. We really wanted to get this project up and running, even with the struggles we are facing as a nation, and hope that you really enjoy what we have to offer. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Wedding Circle podcast. My name is Sophie, and I am here with my co-host and really good friend April. This podcast is about all things weddings for brides, grooms, and anyone else wanting inspiration for that big day. We really hope you enjoy coming on this journey with us. We will be bringing you some amazing guests who are the absolute top of their game in their industry and digging deep into all areas of a wedding. So please do head over to our social media pages. You can find us on Instagram, the.weddingcircle, or on Facebook, or pop us an email to thewedingcirclepodcast@gmail.com.
Hi guys, so this week on the Wedding Circle we wanted to talk to you about, really the start, from the beginning. Newly engaged, what's the to-do list looking like and how do you get started with your wedding planning? So what me and Sophie are going to discuss today is just a little bit around kind of prioritising, budgets, and then going through the list of the suppliers you want to talk to, how you can get to see venues and stuff to get more ideas, and then just build on that from there, because once the ball's rolling, it will come naturally. But we thought we'd kind of help you get that ball rolling.
So the first step that we thought you probably ought to do is sit down with your brand new fiance and talk about your priorities, what you're going to prioritize over one thing or another, and set your budget within this discussion, your budgets. So I think probably assigning each priority a kind of a percentage of your budget. So break it down. For example, if you're the kind of couple that goes out and enjoys amazing food, then perhaps you want to assign a higher percentage of your budget to the catering, get a really top-notch, high-end quality caterers in, and wow all of your guests with amazing food. Or perhaps you are the kind of couple that really value aesthetics. So if you're that kind of couple, perhaps you would like to put more of your budget towards the venue and the venue decor and things like that. So getting those things kind of into alignment with each other, because I imagine you'll both have kind of different opinions, I think is a really good place to start. And then, like I say, go through your budgets, and then set each thing, not a specific amount just yet, because you don't quite know how much everything's going to cost or who's going to come out, with what prices. But maybe a percentage, I think, is a good way to work it.
Yeah, it's just so you know that. So, for instance, as you go out to, say, wedding fairs, or you're looking on Instagram and websites of businesses, you might look at, say, a photographer and think, do you know what, they're top at the priority list, let's look at what we want to spend on them. Because what that will mean in the long run is that'll determine what else you add on. So for instance, like with my business, I am an add-on at the end. I often speak to brides and grooms when they're in the early stages of planning, when I'm at fairs and stuff, and I'll say to them, like, "Oh, how are you doing? When's your wedding?" And if they tell me that they're near the beginning, the way that I put myself to them is like, "Do you know what? When you've got all your other things organised, you've got that dress sorted, your venue, your photography, and all that, come back to me and let's talk about what we can do for you." Because those early biggies, they will determine what you can do with the rest of it and what you'll want to do with the rest of your budget. So yeah, it's a good idea to percentage it out, prioritize the suppliers you need to look for, and then kind of work down from there.
Yeah, and I think everybody's going to have different priorities. So if you were to go to your friends and family and sort of say, what do you think we should prioritize when it comes to wedding planning? Their ideas aren't going to be exactly the same as yours. So just sit with your fiance, spend an evening, open a bottle of wine, and just write all the things down, all your priorities, and see where you go. I do find that with my side of the business, with music, it's one or another. So it's either a really high priority, and they're like first out, straight away, got to get the musicians booked, because that is one of our key suppliers and key areas of a wedding day. And sometimes it's right down the bottom, and they're happy with just putting on a playlist of songs that they, have listened to whilst they've been in their relationship together and all that kind of thing. So, yeah, sit down together, get a list out, of all your priorities, and sort of take it from there.
So it is, I think Sophie's right in saying that it's important just to talk to one another about what you want as a couple, because everybody has, as Sophie says, different priorities, and sometimes too many opinions can be too much, and then that can be when the stress starts coming in. So I often say, as much as it's nice to know what people are like, sometimes when you invite those opinions, they don't always stop coming. So it's kind of ask the people you want to ask, do what you want to do. If you want to ask your mum or your mother-in-law to be, or your friend, what they think, like, that is cool. But all I am saying is this day is going to be about you. And I recommend this to all my brides and grooms, and I'm sure Soph does the same, that it's about what you guys want. So just make sure that even if you are asking for opinions and you are asking for ideas, that they understand that it is only ideas you're asking for.
Yeah. But also, I mean, so when I got married, I was, I'm obviously being a musician, so like music was top of my priority list. So I was thinking about, what do I want to walk down the aisle to? And I had a couple of songs in mind, and one of them, I'm a big opera fan, and one of them was Nessun Dorma. And I said to my sister, I really want to walk down the aisle to Pavarotti singing Nessun Dorma. And she was like, you cannot. That is so extra. Sophie, please don't. And you know what? That is one opinion actually that I was like, yeah, you're right, Shah.
I don't know, so I think that would have been cool.
I was like, I just want to walk down to it. I absolutely love it, and it always makes me cry. But Charlotte said not everybody loves that song or loves opera, and it's quite intense, like, because we had a really intimate wedding, so there's only a few people in a small room. It would have been so loud and so overpowering. But so I didn't go for that. I actually walked down the aisle to the Temper Trap. Sweet Disposition, and actually I think I made the right decision, because it's my favourite song. Yeah. But yeah, that is one opinion I did have to listen to. So our next point is to, I suppose it's in, it kind of ties in with priorities, is think about what time of year you want to get married. I think this plays quite a big part in then going on to then choosing your venue, because if you're looking at having, a wedding in the height of the summer, you want everyone to be outside, and enjoying the gorgeous weather, then think about your venue and have they got a nice outdoor space, that kind of thing. If you want a winter wedding with candles and it really cozy and roaring fires, then maybe go for something, like a stately home that's got the cozy rooms. So yeah, I think time of year is really important. Obviously, you can't guarantee the weather. That's the one thing that you can't guarantee when it comes to weddings, is the weather. And in the UK, it is a bit choppy and changey. But you can kind of guesstimate what it's going to be like at certain times of the year. So that's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to time of year, so like Sophie's saying, like the weather is a bit hit and miss in the UK. But if you are wanting a summer wedding, a venue that would really shine during a summer wedding, that venue will have like a backup plan for, God forbid, the heavens have opened, it's chucking it down. They will have a backup plan. They'll probably have maybe like an outdoor area that's a bit undercover, or they'll have some, maybe like a conservatory, orangery kind of room, so you still get that brightness that you want. So it is important to know what time of year you want, because there'll be some venues that are better suited. Some venues like have amazing grounds for the photos. Some venues have amazing indoor like staircases and such that are amazing for photos if you're doing it in a winter. They all kind of play into their own strengths. There's some that can do any, and that is absolutely true. You could get married anywhere at any time, but there are venues that could play to a strength of a summer, a spring, autumn, or a winter.
Yeah, definitely. And there are some venues out there that are, purpose-built wedding venues, and they're actually a pretty genius idea, because they, obviously being purpose-built, will have all the different areas that you need, whatever the weather. So if there's one venue I'm thinking of, Wharfdale Grange. So it has, yeah, it's got a really gorgeous outdoor area, so for drink receptions and things, and then inside It's got, the really nice bar area where you would have your wedding breakfast, a separate ceremony room. But then it's got this upstairs balcony with loads of gorgeous sofas and loads of different decor pieces, just to kind of make it really gorgeous, really interesting. So if the weather is bad, then all your photographs inside are going to look amazing. And obviously, if the weather's great, then you can be outside and make the most of that as well. So yeah, that's definitely something to put on your priority list is what time of year you want to get married.
And there's also an element of, depending on what your budgets look like, if you're looking to do a lower budget wedding, if you go outside of what we class as peak wedding season, which is probably from about April till maybe end of September, the budgets in venues that like are perfectly made to summer weddings, the prices will go down because they're not as booked up during a winter.
Yeah.
And that goes for like having a midweek day instead of a weekend day during the summer. It makes a big difference. So there's that element of thinking about what time of year you'd like to get married and thinking about what time of year would be best for you to get married, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, definitely. So moving on from sort of what time of the year you want to get married, then you're going to have a look at all the different venues that kind of suit that. I think as well, before you do settle on a venue, the next point I wanted to talk about was get your guest list together, because you need to think about who's coming from where, what locations are they having to travel in. If you want to get married overseas, for example, but you've got people on your guest list that perhaps can't fly, then what's your priority? Is it having those guests at your wedding, or is it having your beach, overseas ceremony in the Caribbean? So yeah, have a look at your guests. Do you want the whole family and their friends and all your neighbours, or do you want to keep it intimate and have just the closest people to you? So I think that's a really important thing to think about. In fact, that's one of the most important things to think about, and often can end up, all over the place. So to really try and nail that in the beginning, and just you two sit down, talk about it, talk about who you want, and this is a point where outside opinions coming in can definitely rock the boat a little bit.
Yeah, because everybody's families, they have their own priorities, but you need to be happy that you've got who you want there. So don't let anybody you want there get pushed out because Aunt Sally's cousin's neighbour who saw you when you were born needs to be there, because she probably doesn't.
No.
So that's for you to decide. And I think that's what I hear the most is, so for instance, I recently had someone that was booking a ice cream bite with me. She said she'd got 60 guests for the day. Then she got in touch and said it's going to be 65. And I was like, don't worry, yeah, that's fine. It don't make too much difference. Then she said, my mum's invited another 6, so it went to 71. And I did say to her, I think you might need to tell your mum that you're done now, because she's trying to book things, like, bless her heart, she's trying to book things. And do you know what? It's like I said to her, your mum will mean the best, like with all the best thoughts. She'll be doing it for the right reasons. But equally, you kind of past that stage now. You're at a point where you're trying to book other things, so that number needs to be kind of pinned down. And she was like, "Oh, do you know what? You're so right."
Yeah,
and she went on, and we went back to 65.
Did you?
Yeah, but it's hard. Like, everyone has an opinion. They're like noses.
Oh,
Everybody's got one.
Yeah, definitely. And something you want to pin down as soon as you can, really. Get everybody on the guest list that you want there, and stick with that. I think that's really important.
And make that split between day guests and evening guests. There's someone that, even just between the two of you, if there's someone that one of you wants to be there but one of you isn't so sure, maybe they could just be an evening guest. It's that kind of thinking as well, because you can have more people, but they might not be there all day.
Yeah, absolutely. And also think about whether your invites are inclusive of a +1. I've been to a couple of weddings where the bride and groom have said, "Oh, there's somebody extra here that's come along with so and so," and we didn't have them down, and then I've got to sort out an extra meal for them or a seat at the ceremony and things like that. So, is it inclusive of a +1? Make that quite clear on your invites, I think.
Heading to venues, so the venue is I would say probably the biggest decision to make, whether you're looking for a outdoorsy, barn conversion styling, beautiful big grounds for your photos, or you're looking for something that's a bit more traditional, maybe like a stately home with a big church nearby that you can get married in, or you might be looking for something contemporary. So, for instance, I've done quite a bit of work at the Pumping House, which from the outside it is quite industrial, but when you get inside, it's really sleek, it's modern, it's unusual, and it creates a really good vibe as well. So, there's so many different venues out there, and like Sophie said earlier, a lot of them are purpose built and made or converted now to be exactly that, a wedding venue. So there's loads to choose from. It's kind of just deciding what kind of vibe you want to go with, and that might come from actually going to see them, because I'm a big believer in when you get in there, you'll know if
Yeah.
it's the one.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd say most people walk in to a wedding venue, or even just driving into the driveway, and they'll know immediately, yeah, this is the one for us. This is what we've been dreaming of. It just feels right. It's like putting on the dress. It just, just it's the right one. It feels right. Same with buying a house. Like, you walk into the house and you think, yeah, this feels like home. And it's a bit like
Mm.
that with a wedding venue. So there's a lot of venues out there that are really versatile as well, and you don't quite realise that until you arrive and actually have a look around physically. It's all good and well having a look on websites and Instagram pages and Facebook and things like that, but actually going in person, you see a lot more than you would if you were just looking online. There is a wedding venue close to me, Hurst Priory, and it's a beautiful stately home. They've got gorgeous bedrooms upstairs, and the indoor sort of ceremony room and the wedding breakfast room is beautiful. But they've also got a woodland outside that you can get married on, in a lawn that you can get married on, and then downstairs they have this sort of little hidden gem. It's called the Vaults, and it's open brickwork. It's a really quirky industrial vibe. You can go down there, have your drinks reception, or maybe a cocktail hour later on in the night, and it's just such a versatile venue. It's definitely worth a visit if you see somewhere and you think, oh, that's quite interesting. Go in person, have a look round. April made a good point earlier about going when it's a wedding fair. If they're holding a wedding fair in the next couple of months, and it's a good time for you to go, then go at that point, because you will not only see the venue, but you'll also see all of their recommended suppliers. And a lot of venues have a preferred supplier list that they recommend time and time again, because they can rely on these people, trust and work with them often. So that's a really good time to go and have a look at venues during all of the sort of wedding fair season.
And that also just, it kind of takes a little bit of pressure off. So you can and you should go to some venues, book in with the venue to go and have a proper show round with someone who works there that can talk you through everything. But I think when you're in the early stages of looking for a venue, if you can drop into some wedding fairs, you've not really got the pressure of somebody asking you, like, so how many guests are you having in? Would you like this and would you like that? Because actually what you want first is just to get a good vibe for it. So the wedding fairs give you an opportunity just to take it all in. Now, there'll be some rooms that will be filled with suppliers, and that's probably a little bit harder to see what that room could be like when you've got lots of like exhibitors in there. But equally, most venues also have areas where they've set it out to be like a wedding. So then you can get a good sense for it. And it just gives you that chance to maybe you might go with your partner to be, your friends, a couple of family members. I see some real entourages. I know you will as well, Sophie, when
Yeah,
people come to the wedding fairs, they bring everybody with them. But
yeah.
it's nice because you all get to see it without that pressure of someone trying to sell it to you, for
Oh,
want of a
definitely.
better
And
word.
it's so worth doing, because it's, you want to kind of make this engagement sort of period the most exciting and full of different things that you can sort of. So going to the wedding fairs, I think, is just such a great idea. And then you get to chat to people and you get different ideas, obviously, which I think leads us quite nicely onto the wedding suppliers, the vendors that you want. So having had a look at your priorities, you've probably kind of made some decisions on what they are, and then start looking for your suppliers. And I really would suggest getting your key suppliers. If you find somebody that you think, I have to have these people at my wedding, so you find a photographer and you absolutely fall in love with their photography style. If they're amazing, they will be getting booked up 2-3 years in advance. So get them booked as soon as you possibly can. There's definitely no harm in that, and the suppliers will welcome it, because then they can say, yes, I'm available. Your wedding's not until 2020 whatever, and the date is free, and that is such a lovely thing to be able to say as a supplier, is yes, I am available for your wedding. So yeah, get them booked in as soon as you possibly can if they are one of your key suppliers.
Yeah, and then just take some time like to figure people out. So like with a photographer, every photographer has their own style, and I think the best place to get that feeling from them is probably through their Instagram. You will get, as soon as you look on it, you'll see all their photos, and you'll get like straight away a vibe for how they work, and you'll know if you want your photos to be like that or not. And then so the same goes for anyone else. So like cakes, for example, a lot of cake designers are really good at being versatile, but everyone does still have. There'll be some that are amazing at sugar flowers. There'll be some that are amazing at naked cakes. Everybody's got their niche. So have a little look through their pages and stuff. Get some ideas of who you like. Get some ideas, through Pinterest or whatever, of what you like, and see if you can find any suppliers through social media or through websites that look like that Pinterest board that you've got.
Yeah.
We always say there's your actual wedding and your Pinterest wedding.
Yes.
Now, if you can nail getting your actual wedding as close to your Pinterest wedding as possible, you have hit the nail on the head.
You
Like
are
that is
winning in the wedding world. I think as
yeah,
well,
100%.
if you, like we said in our last episode, if you are looking for something that you've seen on Pinterest and you're looking for that perfect supplier, then drop us a message on Instagram or through our website, and we will try and help you in that search and find somebody that can help you with that vision. So yeah, as April was saying, lots of different wedding suppliers have a style, have a niche. Photographers, they could either be documentary style, or they could do big, wide sort of landscapes, and kind of try and find somebody that suits what you want. Have a conversation with them. I always think it's worth chatting over the phone, actually, or if you can meet in person for a coffee, then that's even better. Because if you gel with that person and you feel like, yeah, this person could be a friend of mine, then when they're when they're with you on your wedding day, it's going to feel even better, because you kind of feel like you've got an extra friend there, rather than just somebody you don't know from Adam and Eve.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, so for instance, like your florist. So if you go to, a lot of florists actually have a base. So they might have a workshop at home, or they might have a shop. And if you're planning some time to go and see them, as you start talking, they'll probably be able to pull some like idea. They might physically have flowers in their space that they can pull it together and be like this. And then you'll be able to physically say, not quite like that. What about that one there? Like, add this flower in, add that rose in, and you can bring it to life with them. When you're in face-to-face meetings, you can bring it to life. It is a good idea to do that, to make those appointments, and the suppliers want you to do that. Like they get a more crystal clear idea of what you're wanting from talking to you and discussing ideas than just trying to get a brief off of an email or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't matter how sort of small their part in the wedding day is going to be. I would definitely suggest, meeting with them face to face. And if they don't offer it to you, ask, because I always offer a face to face consultation at the beginning, kind of halfway through the wedding planning, and then right towards the end, where we can get all the final details covered. But not all suppliers are going to offer that. Perhaps they don't feel that it's something that it's worth doing. But if you want to meet with that person, then drop them a message, and I would say most suppliers are going to say, yeah, let's get together. We'll have a coffee and we can talk about what you want. Even down to like your DJ in the evening. If you meet with them, give them a playlist, tell them what your music style is, then they're going to remember you because they've seen your face, and they've made notes on your day because they've met with you face to face, and it's just going to be much easier. You're going to get much more of a smooth transition from all the emailing and things like that to the actual day. It's going to be more polished.
But nothing worse than if your DJ turned up and cracked out Agadoo as a first
Exactly.
song, and you're like, "What on earth is this?
Yeah,
This is not my R&B style."
Yeah, nothing worse than a DJ that clears a dance floor. And as a
Oh
musician,
God.
that is my worst nightmare. I constantly am reading the room to see what people are enjoying, and I do kind of free flow it when it comes to my playlists. So if I can see that people are enjoying a certain genre, a certain style of music, I will stick with that as best I can. If I can see that people are not enjoying something, then I'll think, right, well, I'm not going to sing any more of that or play any more of that on the violin. So yeah, I think definitely meet with your suppliers face to face. Talk to them, and meet with as many as you can, because then you can get a good idea of what they all can offer you, because everybody has different offerings. Yeah, and it's worth it.
Absolutely. So, next piece to the puzzle, I suppose, and to be fair, you probably would maybe do this a bit earlier, probably around the time that you're discussing guests. It's your wedding party. So, who do you want your right hand man to be, right hand woman, bridesmaids, chief bridesmaids, whether you want flower girls, page boys? It's I think that's quite an exciting part, because it's also really nice when you have those conversations too with your friends and family around, I want you to be my best man, or I want you to be my maid of honour. So and do you know what? You probably already know, actually. You probably know in the back of your mind. I mean, especially for some people that have dreamed about it since being little, they'll be like, I know which friend is going to be holding my dress
Yeah,
while I'm doing whatever, trying to dance the night away or what have you.
yeah, definitely.
So,
Like I say, and just make it clear to your wedding party what their duties are going to be in the run up to the wedding and on the day. So if you've got some groomsmen that you want all of them to make speeches, then you have to let them know and tell them that you want them to plan it and not just to wing it on the day. If you've got, your maid of honour and you want her to plan your hen party, and then on the day she's got to do this, that, and the other, then tell her you want that support from her. Otherwise, if they've never had that role given to them before, then it can be a little bit daunting as to, okay, what is actually expected of me if I'm going to be, key person in this person's wedding.
yeah, it can't be. Nobody's a mind reader, are they? So, and I suppose everybody does have different expectations. Of some people might be really laid back and be like, yeah, just go with it. Like I'm whatever. Like when it comes to such as the speeches or something. But then some people want to know that it's going to be okay. They know that they've got to have the ring with them. They know that they've got to get the flower girls organised to go down the aisle first. All those kind of things. So yeah, I suppose it's talking about what you want from them, as well as just saying, I want you to be there.
Yeah, I think in the beginning, obviously, just the excitement of, I want you to be my maid of honor, or I'd like you to be my groomsman and my best man, is great. And then as the weeks and the months pass, just get together with them and then have the conversation as to what you actually want from them on the day. Don't try bombard them at the very beginning. Perhaps maybe that's not such a great idea.
Yeah, give them a grilling. Now,
Yeah.
I want you to be my best man. Don't forget the ring. Make sure you throw a speech. Don't embarrass me.
Look after the babies.
Yeah.
Oh dear. And then I think finally, just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, our last point would be to consider a wedding planner, and not the paper style journals. I mean, they're great, but an actual wedding
Love a
planner,
journal.
a person that can bring all of your ideas together. Um, they obviously, in the run up to your wedding, they offer a certain amount of months worth of services. So you can have a 12-month, a 6-month, a 3-month wedding planning sort of set up, or you can have just an on the day coordination, and they turn up on the day, coordinate the day, and then that's it. So I really think it's worth having a person like that take off some of the pressure of dealing with just the boring side of things, all your T's and C's. And so some of the less fun parts of the wedding planning you can hand over to a wedding planner. And I think that's a great idea. And we know lots of amazing wedding planners, so head over to our pages and we can point you in the right direction.
Yeah, and the wedding planners will probably know a lot of well, they will know a lot of suppliers, kind of like a venue having preferred suppliers. Wedding planners also have preferred suppliers. And if you start explaining a vision to them, they'll probably be able to pick out what they see as the best of the best in the industry for that. So if the whole process is a bit daunting for you and you're like, I don't know where to start, like they not only know where to start, they know where everybody is and how to get everybody there on time and all in sync. So,
Yeah.
and like Sophie says, we do know quite a few planners within the industry. So if you need a hand, just give us a shout, let us know, and we can kind of connect you guys with a planner.
And even if you feel you don't need a wedding planner in the run up to planning your wedding, an on the day coordinator is, I honestly would say it's essential, because you don't want to be the bride and groom having to think about timings and getting everybody lined up ready for your confetti throw, or let's get everybody seated because the meal's coming out in the next 5 minutes. If you have somebody that has been assigned that job for the day, then you don't have to think about those things, and they will just maneuver everybody discreetly without you even realising, and the day will just run a lot more smoothly.
Absolutely. So thanks for tuning in again to listen to us today, hear our second podcast, and start those wedding plans going. We've really enjoyed discussing this with you, and we hope you've enjoyed it too. And we look forward to our next podcast, where we can share a little bit more about the journey and the next steps for your big day.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, guys.